It's not needed today. But you're right, I need to get another hat.
That was like the other. So you want to ride? That's okay. I kind of feel the same way.
Okay, good evening, folks. I do have 6 p.m., so we'll call this meeting to order. We'd ask everybody please rise so we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, welcome in everybody to our July council meeting. I'm going to have Ms. Woodward call roll, please.
Susan Bartow.
Here.
Jenny Benner.
Here.
Becky Ricketts. Marty Sidebottom.
Here.
Vicki Stanley.
Here.
Amy Stuber.
Here.
Jim Yates.
Here.
John Singler.
Here. Very good, thank you. All right, first up, we have approval of minutes. We had a June 22nd council meeting. Those minutes have been distributed. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes?
I have an addition. In the section where it talks about ordinance 4/2726, the second reading, the ad valorem tax ordinance, I would like it to state, Councilmember Jenny Benner made a motion to table action. I would like added, due to lack of information and receiving the updated document at 12:21 p.m. and not having a chance to look at it.
Is that a motion with the changes?
Yeah, so I'll make a motion to approve with that edit.
A second.
There's a second from Ms. Stanley. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Anybody else? Very good. Minutes approved. Special meeting, June 29th, Monday.
Motion to approve the special meeting minutes, if there's no other.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Ricketts. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, those minutes passed. Thank you very much. Last Monday, caucus meeting, July 20th.
I have one change, and I'm sorry I didn't get that to you earlier, it's just minor. On the very last page, where it says Councilmember Stanley, I didn't seek guidance from the actual Kentucky League of Cities. I just didn't want you to think that I actually called them. It was folks that were in my leadership class. So I don't know if that makes a difference, but KLC did not tell me that.
Change the word to peers.
Peers.
Okay.
Thank you, my peers, yeah.
Just other
Other than that,
city
I
officials. Yeah.
approve.
So a motion to approve with that
Yes.
change? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Is that Ms. Benner? Thank you. Those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay, those minutes passed. Thank you very much. We're going to move on. We're going to have Ms. Kaiser, City Treasurer, for the Treasurer's Report.
This is the Treasurer's Report as of July 1st. We have a beginning balance of $4,328,261.06, receipts of $97,258.95, and disbursements of $1,073,483.11, with an ending balance of $3,352,036.90.
Do we have any questions?
I have a question. When do we expect all of the receipts to have been paid out for the end of our fiscal year?
Are you saying invoices paid?
Invoice, yes, sorry. Invoices.
That most of those have already been paid. It will be mainly the receipts from insurance premium tax and the occupational taxes that we are due July 31st that we won't be depositing until August. So those final revenue numbers will come in August. But the expenses should wrap up, I would say, as long as I can get through by the end of July, first part of August. I think we'll have all those.
Is there anything that you know that is a big ticket item that would throw off our end of the year, end of the fiscal year accounting?
Not a large item, I don't believe. just in my mind, I can't remember one that comes to mind.
Okay.
Would we owe more money for the Linden Streetscape when it gets, finally gets finished?
I think there's a small amount still that will, has not been invoiced to us as of now.
I do also, since you brought up the streetscapes, I have some questions about that because that line item went way over budget. This is maybe more for the mayor than it is for you, Sonia. And we never did approve a change order. And right now we've paid, it's almost $200,000 over what was budgeted.
So most of that was supposed to be started over a year ago in the previous fiscal year. As you know, we didn't do that, so. Okay, but the capital projects line is not over, so that's going to be my explain to you.
Well, but you,
It had to get done.
we would
So,
still have to
I'll let you
approve
talk.
monies that are spent over 40,000, correct?
No, the project was approved, bid and approved. So the bidder was approved through the public bidding process. The change orders do not need to be publicly bid.
So we don't have to be alerted of an extra expenditure due to a change order? So if we're approving a bid for any amount, the contractor can come in and just change that, and that doesn't go through us? It can just be spent?
It goes through the mayor's office, and the mayor gives you information about the financials every month.
Okay, because it was mentioned in March that we would be amending the budget, and that didn't happen.
Are there any further questions for Sonia at this time, so we can continue on with
Yeah,
that?
thank you, Sonia.
Thank you. Okay, keep going if you like.
Why did we not amend the budget?
You didn't ask me to.
Okay.
Okay.
I've got some clarification. So if we receive a quote for $300,000 and it comes in $200,000 over the quote, that is a substantial amount, and we're not legally, you don't have to notify us? There's no,
We talked about that almost at length on every other month.
we never
Months.
talked about, because Councilwoman Ricketts asked if we were going to go, if you were going to go over budget, and you told her no.
Yeah, I said yes.
No.
Okay. All right. Any more questions?
Actually, you said we wouldn't go over, not likely to go over budget.
For that fiscal year, and then, of course, we had those delays, right? So kept going, this budget, I'm not going to make any excuses. It's over, and it's almost done. Okay? There's a retainer for the electrician of about $15,000 that's remaining to be paid.
So do we have additional monies on this project that are not in this budget year? We didn't spend any money in 24, 25 budget year?
We did not.
Okay.
And that was in the budget that year, and it was not, the project had not begun by the time July 1st began of
Okay.
the following year. We're going back 2 years, but yes. So we had it in the budget, 24, 25, and didn't make our first payment until this previous fiscal year, 25, 26.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm assuming that we didn't have to, I'm sorry, I'm just, for future reference, I've gotten confused because, like she said, if it was budgeted at, say, 500,000 and it went over 200,000, that, because we are, it's part of the whole capital improvements, we did not have to, you could just go and kind of borrow from the other projects. We didn't have to, I guess I'm trying to figure out, do we have to amend of that item, John?
No.
You need to amend your budget before department totals go over.
That's correct. And we didn't go over the department totals, correct?
I don't know the answer to that. We'll have to ask Sonia.
I guess I'm asking the mayor. I'm just trying to clarify.
Not on capital projects, where that
Gotcha.
was.
All right, well, then, great.
What else on that end? All right. There's more time to discuss, but we're going to go ahead and pull up Chief Schroeder, please, for the police report for the month of June.
Good evening. For the month of June, for the city of Linden, we had 103 activities logged in the Kentucky App System, 213 for the police department overall, bringing the year-to-date total of 572 in Linden and 1331 overall. As far as actual hours spent in the city of London for the month, we were at 79.6 in Linden, and year-to-date, 80.7. Part of that was pushed by a SWAT incident we had, which occurred on the boundary of Linden, but was actually in the city of Briarwood on Japonica, where we had a significant expenditure of staff resources out there for that. That probably pushed the change you're seeing there. As far as notable activities, a couple. The first one is actually from this month. On July 10th, Officer Dobbs was struck in the rear in her vehicle. The driver of that vehicle was charged with DUI, reckless driving, and failure to produce an insurance card. Unfortunately, Officer Dobbs was transported to Baptist Hospital for her injuries. She spent overnight in there in observation, and then the injuries required her to be off roughly 2 weeks. But she is back to work and doing well, so we are glad to hear that. Probably most significantly for the city of Linden overall, on the 26th, we responded to the 8100 block of Copper Creek on a large large apartment fire, which did significant damage to the apartments. Multiple residents, I think they said somewhere in the neighborhood of 23, 24 families were displaced because of that fire. But unfortunately, one of our residents lost their life in that fire. At the fire were the St. Matthews Fire and Rescue, as well as the Jeffersontown Fire Department, who I just have to give them kudos. They worked an unbelievable amount to try and bring that under control and keep the rest of the apartments and those residents safe, and they did a phenomenal job. Related to that, 2 days later, our officers responded to that same building. Some noises coming from the apartment. We were able to capture a subject who attempted to flee from us, who was in the process of burglarizing the apartment after they had experienced the fire, which is just a dastardly thing to do. But we were able to catch him and put charges upon him. If you have any questions about any of the other significant activities, I'll be glad to answer those.
I have a question, kind of.
Sure.
First off, I'm glad to hear that Officer Brooks is okay. That's concerning to read. I'm curious, what area was that in? Because it's, was it near one of our local establishments?
I don't believe it was, I don't have the address written down. I'm thinking it was on Wicks Mill. Was it on Wicks Mill? Wicks Mill. Yeah, I'm thinking it was on Wicks Mill.
Okay.
But I don't know that it was related to any of our particular establishments. The case is ongoing. At this point, we don't have any insurance on that driver. They may in fact have insurance, we just don't know what it is, but that may require us to expend the resources to repair the vehicle. Thankfully, the damage to the vehicle was not as severe as I anticipated it would be when I first got the notifications. But more importantly, the damage to Officer Dobbs was not as severe as we thought it was going to be once we heard about that. I believe, Ms. Ricketts, you had some questions about some sporting equipment in the invoice. That equipment is actually 40 millimeter, for lack of a better term, the military would call them grenade launchers. We call them less lethal launchers. They fire 40 millimeter foam batons at people, and those are used particularly in the crisis intervention type situations to try and resolve those without having to resort to lethal force. So we've ordered 3 of those. This fiscal year we plan to order 3 more, as well as the accompanying projectiles.
Is that the Vance Outdoors, Inc.
I believe that's the one.
Police equipment
Yes.
expense at $5,400?
Yes, I don't recall the actual vendor's name, but I believe that's what it was. Because when I got it, it was a little weird. Why are we buying from an outdoor company? But they're actually the ones that sold the product for the manufacturer.
Okay, and the T-Box Tacticals uniform expense?
Yeah, T-Box Tacticals uniform shop that we've gone to. The uniform market in law enforcement has gotten kind of weird. And traditionally, we'd use like Gauze or one of those other vendors. We get we think a better price, better service from T-Box, so we've been using them lately.
Is that something that we're going to see quite regularly? Because in the budget line item, if the uniform was like $1,460 or something like that, and
Yeah,
so this
typically-
is considerably higher than what the budget line item was for police uniform.
Yeah, typically we don't go through a lot of uniforms for the officers. Obviously, when we get a new hire, like we do have a new part-time officer to replace the trickle down we had with Officer Bruce retiring, but typically it's an initial purchase of uniforms. Some of the bigger ticket items that we used to pay for, like the bullet-resistant vest, now we get our grants, so those costs have significantly come down related to those. If you remember a year or two ago, we had a rather significant uniform expense because we got the Class A uniforms for our officers, but we aren't really going to need to buy those, hopefully at any time in the near future again.
Okay. I was just concerned with budget budgets and expense overspent on budget.
Yeah, that really kind of goes to the ebb and flow of officers right now. I think everybody's in a happy place, so hopefully we won't see a lot of transition as we go on. Of course, obviously, as we all go through life, people eventually move on, and somebody else will have to fill their shoes, and when they do that, we'll have a uniform expense related to that. Or, if one of our officers is involved in a struggle and rips a uniform, we'll have to replace whatever that happens to be. But we will seek restitution.
I have one thing. I met with your acquaintance, Billy.
Over the animals, yeah.
Yeah, and she informed me that you've been given, was it 2 or 3 chip scanners?
Yeah, so we did get a donation from a member of the community. She donated 2 of the chip scanners to read the dog owner or cat owner information. She donated 2 of those as well as a kennel. We have had a couple instances where we've had animals in the middle of the night and not been able to reach animal services, so she donated a kennel for those situations, so hopefully we can safely house them overnight until we can get animal services there. And then she also donated a variety of the slip-on style leashes that make their own loop to help us control any animals that we may encounter. I'll be blunt, I'll be in full disclosure. For the most part, with the exception of Officer Yoshioka, who used to run a animal rescue service, animal services is probably better than the rest of us dealing with the animals. So.
That's what I was wondering, how, you just call them, but they don't always come, is what she said.
A lot of times they don't come, yeah. Yeah.
So you're...
They're just like the rest of us all. They're good people, but like the rest of us, they're overworked, a lot of calls for service and whatnot. Like actually just before I came in here, we received a run on some animals and people that were attacked by a dog that had gotten loose. Thankfully, Animal Service was able to respond to that, so they're probably much better suited than we are for that.
Well, congratulations with the scanners.
Yeah, hopefully that'll be a good thing, and then she was going to reach out to you as far as the Beautification Parks Committee about maybe getting one of those locations.
Yeah, she's coming in. I think she's going to come back and maybe talk to us about it. But, I mean, I've talked to her. I think it's a great idea, so.
It's got my seal of approval, so.
Yeah, good. Obviously, sent her over to us, so thanks.
Thank you.
Chief, thank you for sending the camping nuisance that you ordered, the ordinance that you found. So my email back to you was that we probably need to add that information to the current nuisance, and also, since we talked about the nuisance and talked about foreclosure on the house on 419, we amend the ordinance to possibly put the camping thing in there, which I will put together. We need to enforce it. I mean, we have fines that we're not enforcing. I know that's not just on you, so we as a council need to find out how we need to go about actually enforcing and getting these fines taken care of.
Yeah, the bottom line for us is we don't like to be in the money business. We don't like to collect money or do any of that. We'll happily go out and enforce the fines. And actually on that very house you were talking about, a couple days ago, I went there on a complaint where they were in the back with their car. I verbally warned them that car could not be there based on our ordinances. It was there again today. Our officers cited them. Our next plan, should that happen again, is it's going to get towed. So we're doing a kind of a graduated series of enforcement efforts with them. But at least when I gave them the verbal warning, they weren't terribly receptive. So hopefully the actual citation will make them more receptive.
Hopefully we'll do better about collecting on our citations. Thanks, appreciate it.
As I rode by there today, there was a gentleman coming out of a Porsche, walking up to the house. Yeah. She would be interested.
Very interesting.
Any further questions for Chief?
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we're going to move on. What you all been waiting for, Mr. Jim Tenza with Dean Dorton. We're going to give our audit report this evening. So welcome, sir. Thank you very much.
So I am Jim Tenza with Dean Dorton. I'm the director in charge of the audit. And I'm here to go over with the City Council the update on the audit of the financial statements for the city for the year ended June 30, 2025. So first of all, we're substantially complete. We're about 95% complete. We're just wrapping up here this week, and we plan on issuing the financial statements next week, the first week in August. So I want to go over the draft with you all, because the financial statements are yours, it's the city's, it's not ours. I want to make sure you all understand it. I'm glad to take as much time as you want to walk through it. It's a big document. I'm going to touch on some of the key things, but please ask questions as we go through it. But before we do that, I'll just give you a high-level summary. First of all, there was difficulty in getting the audit completed. As you know, we were brought in pretty late to do the audit, and so going back, a year now, 2 years ago, and trying to audit things, there's difficulty in that. So we expected that difficulty, but there was also certain information from the prior auditor that he did not share with us in a very timely manner. It took us a long time to get that information. Things like audit adjustments from the prior year and the detailed listing of the capital assets and depreciation, which the auditor kept. So we finally got that stuff, and we were able to get through that work. So our audit report, we anticipate issuing an unmodified or a clean audit report. So that's a really good thing. In the audit report, there is an emphasis of a matter, and that's because of a new accounting pronouncement. I don't want to bore you all too much, but there was a required change to how you account for compensated absences, sick leave, vacation leave, and the city was required to adopt it in 2025, and they did, and they adopted it properly, and it resulted in a $232,000 adjustment to the beginning net position, and most cities and most government agencies had that type of thing. So under the old rules, most cities accrued what they thought they were going to pay out in vacation and sick pay that's been earned. This new standard says whether you're going to pay it or not, if you think they're going to use it, if they have the right to use it, you have to accrue the whole amount. So that just led to a bigger accrual, and so we emphasize that in our report just because it's a change in accounting. And then we did have a finding to report. It's a significant deficiency, and I'll go through the details on that, and I'm going to walk through the report. But just to remind you, in 2024, the audit before this one, you all had a material weakness, which is worse than a significant deficiency. So there is a finding, but it's not as bad as the prior year. And just so you all know the definitions, there's 3 levels of a control deficiency. One's just a control deficiency where you don't have the right controls to find errors properly in a timely manner. A material weakness is you don't have controls, and it could be a material adjustment. And then a significant deficiency, the technical rule, the definition is something greater than a deficiency, but less than a significant deficiency, but important enough to bring to your attention. So just kind of in between. So I didn't make that definition up, that's what it is. So with that, I'm going to walk you through the financial statements, which is the bound, larger document. And
and while we say these are the set of financial statements, there's actually two sets of financial statements in here. And I'm glad to spend as much time explaining how this works, but the first set is what's called the government-wide financial statements, which is recording everything in accordance with governmental accounting standards, and it includes recording all of your capital assets and then depreciating those, recording a pension liability, a bunch of things that are kind of long-term and in accordance with the standards. And then there's a second set of financial statements, which are more kind of cash basis and how you keep your books on a day-to-day basis. So there's actually two sets of financial statements, and there's a reconciliation, and I'll show you that. But again, don't hesitate to ask questions as we go through this. So if you go through this document, I'm not going to go page by page, it's 50 pages or something. I'm going to touch on the high points, but the first couple pages, the first 3 pages is our actual report that we plan on issuing, and again, it's in draft form. The top of that has opinion, and it says there that the financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects. So that's the best we can say. That's a clean report. And you'll see down a little bit further on that page, there's a short little paragraph there, emphasis of matter, that I just told you about. And then below that, the report, it's standard wording, but it lays out the responsibilities of management and the auditor's responsibilities, and basically management's responsible for preparing these financial statements and keeping good books and records. We're responsible for auditing those. So if there's anything in this document that you don't agree with or want changed, there's still an opportunity to do so, because again, this is in draft form. So behind our report is management's discussion and analysis, pages 4 through 9. And this is supposed to be kind of the layman's summary of the financial results. And so I'm going to highlight a few things in here. This section's technically not audited. We tie these numbers back to the audited numbers, and they all tie. But on page 6 is the government-wide financial statements, and this shows the current year, the year 2025 compared to 2024 and any differences. So it's just a little bit easier to point out a few things, but if you look at from year to year, at the very bottom of that table, you'll see total net assets, $17.2 million for 2025 compared to $14.6 million, so about a $2.6 million increase. And also, you have $17 million more more assets than liabilities, which is a good thing. And that's grown from 24 to 25. If you go up and look at the numbers above it, total assets up the top, the total assets of $19.4 million increased about $3.5 million, and it's mainly your capital assets. So that's the police headquarters remodel and other capital additions that you had during that year, increased those capital assets by about $3 million. Your receivables also increased, and it's largely due to occupational tax for 2025. That was new, bigger, and the timing of those receivables. So the receivables were a little bit larger for 25 than they were 24. On the liability side, if you go down a little bit, total liabilities of $7.5 million compared to $1.2 million. So there's a big increase in your liabilities, and it's mainly the pension liability. So for 2025, that was the first year that the police were included in the financial information at the Kentucky Public Pension Authority. So the police was started, I think, December of 23, and the way the Kentucky Public Pension Authority determines the pension liability, they use amounts at the beginning of the year. So while the police became part of the pension in 24, they weren't included in any liabilities because the Kentucky Public Pension Authority looked at the beginning of the year and the police weren't in it at the beginning of the year. So 25 was the first time that they're really included in the liability. And that liability is allocated to you from the Kentucky Public Pension Authority. There's a big calculation that they do, and they have an audit done, and that's your portion of it as allocated to you. That's not necessarily how much you're going to pay, but that's what gets allocated to you all. And the other numbers that changed really had to do with the pensions. There's deferred inflows and deferred outflows, and it's a big accounting calculation, but there's some money that gets paid in that gets deferred until later. There's some things that adjustments, changes in estimates that get deferred to future periods, so they're shown as deferred inflows and outflows. But the biggest thing is just really the pension, the police going into that, and becoming part of the liabilities. And then on page 8 is the statement of activities. So this shows all the revenues and expenses for the government-wide financial statements, comparing 25 and 24 again. So total revenues at the top, 11.5, almost 11.6 million, a $4.8 million increase, and again, it's almost all occupation and insurance tax that caused that change. And the expenses, 8.9 million, they were up only 1.8 million. So for the year, if you look at the bottom there, the net change in fund balance, 2.6 million, compared to a loss in the prior year. So basically, you're a nonprofit, it's not net income, but that essentially is kind of like your net income, where revenues exceeded expenses by that amount. And on the liability side, if you look at, on the expense side, expenses were up 1.8 million. Again, a lot of that had to do with the pension, because when you put that liability on your books, also a lot of expense came on at that time too, so it causes your expense on the government-wide financial statements to be higher. And then page 9 is a very summarized version of the fund financial statements, which again are the cash basis ones. So this doesn't have capital assets. The capital assets, when you spend money on capital assets, they get expensed, so they're not showing up as assets. The liabilities, they don't have the pension stuff in there because this is just your kind of current liabilities. So here you have 5.7 million of assets and only $500,000 of liabilities for a total fund balance of 5.2 million. So it's up about 600,000 from the previous year. And most of that has to do with the increase in receivables for the occupational tax. And the same thing there, you look at revenues and expenses, similar to the government-wide financial statements, your revenues are up 4.8 million, your expenses are up about 3 million, but net change, there's a net change in net income of about 387,000 compared to a loss in the prior year. And again, the revenues is occupational insurance tax. And then here the expenses, the reason the expenses are so much higher than the prior year, again, anything you spend on capital assets gets expensed. So the remodel of the police headquarters shows up as expense here, and that's why expenses were higher in 25 than 24. I'm going to pause for just a second, because those are the big items on the financial statements, and then I'll show you more here with the actual financial statements and footnotes. But any questions on those numbers?
I don't know if you can answer it, though. It's on page 8, under total revenues. I was just curious of why the charges for services, it shows 2025, 619,000, and 2024, over $1 million. So a difference of a little over 400,000. I was just trying to understand what that difference was.
Good question. I'm not sure I have an answer for that right this second. I have to go back and look at what was in the 24 number for charges, for if there was something different or unusual. I think there was some grant that might have been received in 24, because that may have gone into that number, but I've got to double check that. Okay, so the actual financial statements start on page 10, and again, this is the government-wide financial statements. So these are all the same numbers I just went through. I'm not going to go through those again. And
government accounting standards only require a single year set of financial statements, and that's why in the MD&A it's helpful to see both years. And then page 11 is the statement of activities. And here you can see up at the top, the way the schedule reads, those are your expenses and then your charges for services, which you're just questioning there, 619,000. I guess it can't be grants because there's a separate column there for grants, but I'll have to look and see why the charges. But at the top there on this, this is what your actual expenses are and any charges and grants to get to your net expenses, and then you can see the general revenues, which are all the taxes there, to get to your change in net position of 2.6 million for the year. And again, it's 2.6 million of revenues exceeding expenses. And then when you go to page 12, that starts the fund financial statements, and this shows the assets and liabilities for the financial statements, again, that kept more on your day-to-day basis and your cash basis. And on the next page, page 13, this is a reconciliation here. So it shows on your fund financial statements, you have a positive fund balance of 5.2 million. On the government-wide, it's like 17 million. So this shows the differences, which are mainly the capital assets of 13 million and the pension and compensated absences accruals. So that's how you get from one showing 5.2 million versus the other one showing 17 million. And then page 14, and this, it's more helpful when you do these more timely, but going forward, hopefully we'll have that. But page 14 is the statement of revenues and expenses for the fund financials, and this shows budget to actual comparison for the year, which is always, this is a kind of a good page for City Council to be looking at. And you can see up at top the revenues, you had $1.4 million more revenue than what you were budgeting. And on the expenses, you had about $500,000 more expenses than what you were budgeting. About half of that has to do with capital expenditures being higher than what you budgeted, and some of it's just general governmental expenditures. And again, the pension plays into that a little bit. I'm not sure if you budgeted up for all that exactly correct, but bottom line is you beat budget by about 900,000. So 1.4 million more revenue, about 500,000 more expenses. So in total, about $900,000 better than what you were budgeting for the year 2025. And then the next page, page 15, does a reconciliation. So on the fund financials, you had net income of basically $387,000, and on the full government-wide, it was 2.6, and it shows the difference, and it's mainly how the way capital assets are handled, where they're expensed on the fund financials, and the other one they're capitalized, and just the depreciation expense. And then after that, we go through the footnotes. I'm not going to go through the footnotes in great detail. I'm just going to point out a couple things. Footnote 1 goes through your significant accounting policies. So this is all of the key policies that the city has for bookkeeping. And the policies are consistent with the prior years, no major changes except for page 18. There's a paragraph near the bottom there, adoption of the new accounting standards. So this is where we disclosed how the compensated absences accounting has changed. And then on page 19 at the bottom, and then going up to the top of page 20, we've added disclosures of exactly what's going into the compensated absences and how the city awards vacation leave and sick leave and how that accrual is come up with. And then also we show the change for the current year. Because that accrual is going to change from year to year depending on if people are using their sick pay and vacation pay or not and how that's going. The other couple footnotes, once you get past footnote 1, the other footnotes kind of summarize some of the key areas. Footnote 2 goes through your investments. So there's a summary there. All of your investments are really CDs but that shows there's about $1 million of investments. And then page 24, footnote 4 goes through the detail of your capital assets, which are your largest assets on the government-wide financial statements and what it all relates to and the depreciation on those. And then footnote 5, right after that, goes through about 10 pages of information related to the pension. And I'll just summarize it in a couple sentences here. Most all of this comes directly from the Kentucky Public Pension Authority. So they have to disclose all of the assumptions and all of the key things that go into them determining the total liability, and then they allocate a portion out to all of the government agencies. So you are required, because that liability is on your books, you're required to disclose all of the key assumptions. So basically, all of this is almost directly from the Kentucky Public Pension Authority, describing how they calculate the pension and what it relates to. And that's audited by other auditors, and we actually look at those work papers and make sure all of this is being done properly before it's brought into your all's financial statements. But you're required to disclose it, so it's all here. I'll point out a few things here in the schedules in the back. But then the last thing I just want to point out is on page 36, the very last footnote, footnote 7, this talks about new accounting pronouncements that are going to be effective in the upcoming year. And I'll just, the first one, the first paragraph there's a new accounting pronouncement of what's required to be disclosed in your management discussion and analysis. So, but I just went through with you. They actually came out with a new standard that's requiring all government agencies to put it in a certain format. The way you've done it this year is pretty close. There may be a few tweaks to it, but since we were new to doing the audit and we knew this was out there, we tried to tweak it a little bit to get us close to that. The other thing that it does that we didn't make the change for, so that one page that had the budget information on it, which I think is really, really, really important, the new requirement is that you do not include that in your financial statements and you show it as a supplemental schedule in the back. So the people that are smarter than I, that look at these rules all the time, they said budget is really not an audited item, so it shouldn't be in your audited financial statements. You should, and some cities put it in the some already put it supplemental schedule, some put it in the financial statements like you do, some put it in the footnotes. And so they said, we want everyone to do this consistently so everyone knows where it is, and it's in the same spot for all the government agencies. So it's not going to change that, it's just going to move it to the back of the financial statements. So speaking of the back, so these are some of the supplemental schedules, and I'm starting on page 37. So for the pension and other post-employment benefits, you're required to disclose 10 years of certain information, and that's what these schedules are. And I'm just going to show you on page 37 the 2025 column there, just so you understand a little bit what's in here. So the police are participating in the hazardous pension plan, and all the other employees are the non-hazardous. So they have two different plans at the Kentucky Public Pension Authority. Police, firemen, those types of people are in the hazardous one, everyone else is a non-haz. So your police that are participating in that plan make up 0.24% of everyone that's participating in that plan. And your non-haz is 0.01%. So that is the percentage based on what you contribute into the plan. Kentucky Public Pension Authority says, okay, you're 0.24%, so you're going to get 0.24% of the liability, and you're 0.01%, so you're going to get 0.01%. So very small percentages, comes out to $6.9 million. I think the total liability at the Kentucky Public Pension Authority is like $8 billion or something crazy. So just a very small percentage is what gets allocated to you all. And at the very bottom of that schedule, those percentages shows how funded those plans are. So hazardous is 57% funded, meaning at the Kentucky Public Pension Authority, the total liability, they've got 50% of it covered by assets that they own. And so the liability is that other 43%. That's what makes up that $8 billion. And then non-haz is 61%. And then the next page, I just want to point out, page 38, this is by year what you're contractually obligated to contribute to the plans and what you actually contributed. So every single year, if you look, you contributed what you were supposed to. So the liability, there's nothing that you've done that caused that liability. You've always contributed what you're supposed to. This is just what gets allocated to you. And then the last thing in these statements, you go past the supplementals, they have the same schedules for other post-employment benefits. And then there's footnotes that describe some of the assumptions. But the other supplemental information is our report on internal controls, which start on page 44. And then on 46 is our finding that I told you about. So this is, this is the significant deficiency. And basically what this relates to is that the city, as we did the audit, and we had the difficulty getting these detailed fixed asset schedules and getting the audit adjustments, technically, you should have had those. Those are your records. You should have maintained those. And just when we get done with the audit, we're going to make sure you have your own copies and all of that's included in your records. Technically, you didn't have that, so we had a fight with the other auditor to get those. And there's certain things that weren't reconciled completely and timely. And then also the other thing is, when you do bookkeeping, there's some manual entries that need to be made. Right now, the treasurer can make those manual journal entries and nobody really reviews them or approves them, which is a control issue because the treasurer made any adjustment she wants to, then you might not know what's going on. So there are no problems. Part of our audit, we look at all manual journal entries, and we didn't have any issues, but that's technically someone should be reviewing those. So that's why we have a significant deficiency. Well, for some cities may have the mayor review them and approve them. Some cities have a member of the city council who maybe has an accounting background review those monthly as part of the monthly financial reporting that the treasurer does.
Would that be like our budget committee?
Possibly. It's pretty easy for the treasurer to share. There's not a lot of manual entries because again, this is more cash basis. So we're just talking about if there's certain unusual things that occur or certain adjustments that need to be made to reconcile things, they should be given to someone to review.
Mr. Jim,
Yep.
can I call you Jim?
Yep.
On the recommendation, we recommend that the city management and financial personnel continue to increase their awareness and knowledge of all procedures and processes involved in the financial closing process and in preparing financial statements and develop internal control policies to ensure journal entries are properly approved. That's something we need to work on, correct?
Right, yeah. So that's what I'm talking about. You probably should just have a policy. This is who reviews manual journal entries, who approves those, and we should have written policies on how things get closed out at the end of the year, including getting the adjustments from the auditors and maintaining those records.
Look at yours list.
You mentioned that there was, so our audit the issues were not reconciled from the last audit?
Correct, because the adjustments that the audit, so again, just think about there's two sets of financial statements here. So the cash basis ones reconciled, so the books and records, we can agree those back to what the actual financial statement said, but the government-wide ones, we couldn't because you didn't have the actual adjustments that the auditors made. And so trying to reconcile back to the financial statements for 2024, we weren't able to do that. And so that's what I'm saying, like at the close, there should be a reconciliation. Here's how our books tie back to the actual audited financial statements and all of it reconciles.
And that wasn't done by the last audit?
Pardon me?
And that was not done by the last auditor?
That's correct.
Not
That's
anything we did? Okay, thank you.
That's correct.
Well, we had a new audit.
That's right, that's right. And so along with that, there's a short letter here, and I've already covered everything in here, and this is just in draft form, but whenever you do an audit, you're required to share certain things in writing, and that's what the short letter is. It highlights some of the key, and I already walked through the whole set of financial statements, but it highlights some of the things. And this is in case someone comes back and says, hey, did the auditors ever discuss this with you? You can say, yep, look, here's the written record of it. And this just talks about some of the key estimates and disclosures. And the other thing that's actually in here is we're required to provide all of the adjustments that were made. So at the back of this letter, we actually have all the adjustments that were made from the trial balance to get to the financial statements. So some of those we provided, some of those management, it was just a timing thing of them recording certain things, but these are all of the adjustments that were made from the trial balance that we started the audit until these financial statements. And again, we're not completely done. Once we wrap up this week, we'll provide the final version. So this is just a draft, but we're required to share that with you all. And then the rest of this just has, letting you know there's no disagreements, no major issues other than what I told you about, and also points out that there's a control deficiency. So I've already covered everything, but that's there in writing for your all's records.
I have one question from page 24. I didn't want to interrupt. We have land, buildings, and improvements and infrastructure. What's infrastructure? Buildings not...
So infrastructure will be like roads and sidewalks and that kind of stuff, so that's... Yep.
Thank you.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, it was, got it.
I have a question. If you were in our shoes, other than internal controls, are there any other hot spots that we should be paying attention to as we move forward?
The main things, the internal controls, and then, your earlier discussion when it comes to budget versus actual, what I don't know how closely what you're looking at, but a monthly looking at budget versus actual. I don't know, you all discussing whether you needed to amend budgets, and, but budgets are what they are. It's trying to drive your expenses and your revenues and trying to keep you in line. You're never going to match up exactly. You can't keep amending. At some point, you just need to say, there's reasons why you may go over budget. You think about, when someone builds their own house, things are just going to get out of whack and you're going to have some additional stuff. When those come up, you all probably should understand where you are budget to actual on a monthly basis. I think would be a good thing to monitor also.
I don't know if I want to ask this. In your opinion, I think we're having some discussion maybe later or at another meeting, the possibility of line item budget versus a departmental budget. And, line items budgets I think can get messy, but do you have an opinion on that? And do you mind telling us your opinion?
Well, it really depends on the size of the organization and the detailed information. I mean, I've seen some city councils get into, this is $200 over budget. I mean, when we do an audit, there's materiality. So we're not looking at every little cent and dollar. We try to do a risk assessment and look at those that are bigger. If you have a line item, I would just say, be careful that you don't get bogged down in the details and kind of miss the big picture. But I don't, there's benefits and downfalls to doing either way, and it really just depends on the amount of details and the amount of projects going on and things like that. Obviously, like a big city like the city of Louisville, you have to do it by department. You just can't get into that detail level. Some smaller cities, it's a little bit easier. So
For certain medium-sized
Yeah, exactly, exactly, yeah. Sorry.
Any further questions for Jim?
The only last thing I'll say is, so that is a draft, and again, we'll be finalizing. If you're home and trying to get some sleep and you're reading through the financial statements, if there's anything you see you have questions about, you can email me. If there's anything you think might need to be changed or you're unclear about, you can email the mayor or myself. But end of the day, Monday next week, we're finalizing it and we're going to issue that week. So you kind of have a week to look at it. If you do have some additional questions, we can address it.
Thank you. I know this was a big challenge for you because we came in so late. So I really appreciate your professionalism and your firm's professionalism, because you've really stepped up to get us where we needed to be.
Yeah. And I do want to, we have a whole team of people that were doing this audit, so don't think I was in here doing it. We have a bunch of people that were doing it, and they did a great job. But also, I will say, Sonia, the mayor, and everyone that we dealt with, very open, honest, provided us everything we needed, very cooperative. The only cooperation issue was with the prior auditors, just trying to get the information that we needed, so.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Appreciate that. So I'm not asking for approval tonight. Obviously, you still have this in draft form, so we can discuss that again next month. See what you say. Okay, is there any unfinished or old business we haven't thought of or put on the agenda that you want to address?
Yes, I would like Dr. Erling Rice Owens to come up, and her and I have worked together on a information regarding the budget process that she would like to read, and I would like her to read.
So, but is it going to require any kind of action? Because
No
to me,
action.
that's open floor. So if you don't mind, let's wait until open floor for that.
Okay, that's fine.
So we're going to move on now to budgets. We discussed last week.
Excuse
Yes,
me.
ma'am.
Under unfinished old business, we had a discussion last week about a volunteer documents and volunteer documents and forms that.
It's in your packet?
Yeah.
Okay.
So is that something that we need to vote on, John, or is that
No.
just something we adopt? We just
It's
adopt?
through the mayor's office.
Okay.
So after reviewing those, do you have any additions or corrections to those? Pretty standard volunteer waiver and acknowledgement form, as well as rules for volunteer work on city property.
Yeah, I'm good.
If not, we'll distribute those, and anybody that's volunteering or with the beautification committee or what have you, will need to fill out this form for us. Okay. Anything else? All right, so you have two ordinances, potentially. You got to choose them. Ordinance 72726A or 72726B is your first reading amending 2026-27 budget.
So you have, for first reading, we have two sort of competing versions of this. You have the A form of your budget amendment ordinance for this year's budget that adopts the line items as a reference guide, incorporates them as an exhibit, but it does not change the departmental type of budget that this is. The B ordinance adopts the line items and incorporates them as a true line item budget, so that if you have a line in the worksheets that is exceeded, it needs to be amended. As part of, just like a budget ordinance has to be amended with two readings. So you have an A and a B. What you need to do is take action with a motion to introduce either A, that's the reference ordinance, or B, which is the full line item budget.
I have a question first. We just tonight got a new version of the itemized budget. Can you explain what is different and why we got a different version?
What's new?
That's what I'm asking. It says it's from 7/23/2026.
Okay, so that you had a special meeting amending the budget with that $500,000 difference. The thing that's new is that worksheet reflects the final imbalance that you changed on the special meeting Monday, June 29th, when I was not present. But it doesn't matter. That's the number that you came up with at that meeting. So this worksheet reflects those numbers.
Okay. But it was approved, the budget was approved with those changes.
Correct. The budget that you approved June 29th with that $500,000 difference is reflected on the worksheet. It is also reflected on the table where intergovernmental fund and general fund are combined. I took the numbers that were agreed upon at that meeting and placed them where they should be on the table and the worksheet. That is the difference. You should expect one to be different. I'm not going to give you the old one, because if I give you the old one, you're going to tell me you didn't give me the new one. So here's the new one that you approved and voted on.
The only thing that was different in the table was the math, though. So are you saying you added another
I put in
$500,000?
what you said from the minutes, June 29th. The numbers that you said that were in the minutes.
You have that.
Right.
$2,805,927.66 was changed. So I didn't have another table. You didn't give me a table, but I took the numbers that you spoke on and put them in this. That's the difference. So change them to whatever you'd like, but those ordinances are before you today, at your request.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance number 7-27-26B.
So, first reading, so it'll be a motion for introduction.
Yes, thank you.
Hearing a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Benner? Ms. Benner, so, first reading, what do we
Need a vote.
Not a roll call, though. No.
Just voice vote.
Voice vote, then, all in favor for the first reading? Aye, okay.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. Moves on to next month. Motion
So
for,
what happens to
Ordinance
A?
B.
It's just gone now?
yep,
Yes.
yep.
I
Okay,
always get in late. Okay, done.
okay. Very good, all right, so next time we're going to see you guys August 17th for our caucus meeting at 6 p.m., followed by the council meeting August 24th at 6 p.m. Other business from the council.
Did you get the Sherry
We're working on that, yes,
to sign?
yes. She's talking about the Trailhead project. The Trailhead project from Clark Dietz that Ms. Stanley has discussed a few times. That company has a $15,000 invoice to do some of the legwork on the Ramara Place properties that do not belong to the city but are adjacent to Ramara Place that we've been discussing turning into like a nature trail to preserve the wooded area and hopefully prevent much building going on back there, as there's been a lot of inquiries from several of those folks that own the parcels or realtors trying to sell off parcels that they're investment properties, but there's no infrastructure. So this company would do some of the work to figure out, how we can get some grant money to move forward and give us the best possible solutions to put in sort of like a trail that goes in with Ramara Place. So that's on the table, that's been discussed. That is all within the budgeted amounts there that we have so far for park capital projects as well. So just to clarify what Ms. Stanley was asking.
Mayor?
Hold on. Other business from the council?
Yes. So I'd like to bring something to council's attention that I recently learned as a part of a request for information regarding litigation, separations, and investigations. I learned that the city has been defending a lawsuit arising from an incident on August 31st, 2022. I was surprised because, to my knowledge, council has never been informed that this litigation existed. I don't believe that council should have learned about should have learned about a significant litigation through an open records request or a request for information. So I'd like to understand the city's process and ask a few questions. So my first question is, when did the city first become aware that this incident could result in litigation?
I can't recall exactly when the suit was filed, but it would have been when the suit was filed.
And can you explain how the decision was made regarding what information would be shared or not shared with the council?
I submitted the case to KLC. KLC took up defense, assigned defense counsel. I informed the mayor.
So there was never any discussion on notifying council, or was there discussion on notifying council?
I discussed it with insurance defense counsel. I discussed it with the mayor.
So where are we now?
It's a non-issue.
It's been dismissed a good number of months ago.
It's not a non-issue because it puts our city at liability, and this is exactly what I've talked about, is the need for a safety director, someone who is responsible for ensuring the budget is followed, ensuring that we're not at a liability, that our city isn't at risk, that we're following all of the things that need to be done with our police, and that's a part of our ordinance. I've got a couple more questions. Was the officer acting on behalf of the city or working secondary employment?
I believe that he was working, I think he was on duty, but that was when Graymore, the transition with Graymore was happening, so maybe the chief has a better recollection of that.
Good afternoon, or good evening. And that involved, as you're well aware, that involved Sergeant Steve Jesse. It was an allegation made to a call for service he made while working for the city of Linden.
Okay, so he was employed?
He was employed, yes. And I would articulate that part of the reason, and I certainly can't speak for the mayor, but part of the reason to keep that one particularly close is, as you're aware from the information I gave you, there was also a criminal allegation that went along with that. And we reached out to the Kentucky State Police to investigate that criminal allegation. In the end, both in the court case and through the investigation, and during the investigation, the gentleman refused to cooperate with the Kentucky State Police. The sergeant was completely cleared of any wrongdoing, both in court and via the investigation. So, take for that what you will, but it's not typical we would in a serious allegation such as that one broadcast a lot of our business while we're trying to gather information. So.
Oh, sure. I don't expect it to be in a paper, but I definitely expect that the council would be notified, considering it's relative, it puts the city at risk. And
but we certainly took it seriously. That's why we reached out both to Mr. Singler, Mayor Hagan, and to the Kentucky State Police.
Awesome.
And just as a side note, that person no longer works for us, but they were cleared.
Have any policy, my last question, have any policy changes been recommended or implemented as a result of the lawsuit? So what are they?
Not as a result of that lawsuit. I mean, we constantly are reviewing our policy, both ourselves. We still haven't gone through the accreditation process, but we're still preparing for the accreditation process. Part of that requires every policy to be reviewed at least every year, which we're trying to do. And Deputy Chief Thomas will tell you I'm constantly sending those out. One thing we do, a lot of agencies don't do, is we actually quiz our officers on the various policies. KLC, most of our policies, not all, but most of our policies are at least based on KLC policy. And KLC also routinely reviews the policies, and they review the new statutory guidelines that come out during each General Assembly, the relevant court cases, and they are also constantly updating policy and sending that information out to us when they do that. So there's a review not only with us, but also with KLC. And then I don't recall if it was early this year or towards the end of last year, but KLC actually came and took a look at our policies, and we did.
The audit?
Yeah, we did okay.
Awesome, thank you.
And I'm assuming that the city has adequate insurance, et cetera, against being sued like this? We have adequate coverage?
Yes, we have several $1 million. I don't know what the maximum limit is, $4 million.
I'll make an anecdotal comment for you. The attorneys KLC retained were superb. So I have no qualms with the attorneys they provided us and the service they gave it. They were just truly top-notch.
One last question for the city. Were there any funds that were spent, city funds, for this legal process?
No.
Great, thank you.
Through KLC Insurance. Other business from council? I'm going to move on to open floor, and then Mr. Brew, you can talk about what you were wanting to. Did you want to introduce the...
Good evening. Again, Dr. Erling Grace Owens. I wanted to follow up on the Linden City budget process clarification, and I refer folks to the July 20th document provided by Councilmember Stuber. As I indicated at that, after that, I investigated factors contributing to that problem occurring. As noted previously, the miscommunication and misinformation created harmful impacts, including, one, unnecessary anxiety for many, in particular, police staff. Two, unfounded animosity toward the majority of council members. And three, divisive confusion and conflict amongst community members. Using a modified root cause analysis approach, I examined what happened and how to prevent dynamics moving forward. I talked with key players and considered primary factors. Here are key contributing factors. A Facebook page administered by Mr. Mike Swayze and Mr. Dan Floyd, both of whom do not live in Linden, identifies itself as, quote, Linden, Kentucky official page. Thus, understandably, many followers of the page assume it is an approved and official communication avenue for city business. Councilmember Jim Yates consistently makes incorrect and inflammatory statements on that page. For example, calling the majority of council members, quote, Angry Five, and claiming they are, quote, defunding police. June 23rd, 2026, an extensive thread on the illegitimate Linden Facebook page included many inaccurate and inflammatory statements about the budget process. In particular, Budget Committee member and community member Ms. Sharon Romilly Morris, who is also running for council, stated, quote, I served on the Budget Oversight Committee, and we all know that was a farce. Mark my word, they, referring to majority council, will reduce the police salaries and number of vehicles to be leased. If I'm wrong, I will publicly apologize. Other community members, including several others running for council, added to the above comments, resulting in a troubling conflagration of malicious gossip and unconstructive misinformation. Mayor Hagan did not act to correct this misinformation, for example, countering the misinformation on the illegitimate page and/or posting clarifying information on the actual official Linden City page. Notably, council members and community members who could have responded have been blocked from the illegitimate Facebook page However, Mayor Hagan and Councilmember Yates are still on the page. Police Chief Schroeder did not speak directly with council members to clarify misinformation, nor did he correct misinformation being conveyed to staff. Councilmember Vicki Stanley stated in the July 20th council meeting that she regretted not voting with the majority of the council to table the motion to pass the budget until council members could adequately review it. She shared that she consulted with the League of Cities peers regarding the matter and was advised that the council had acted appropriately, ethically, and legally to table the budget. Here are recommended strategies and responsible parties. Mayor Hagan, direct Mr. Swayze and Mr. Floyd to remove their official designation on their Facebook page. Councilmember Yates and Mayor Hagan remove themselves from this problematic page and instead use the official Linden City page to convey accurate and useful information.
How come I can't be on your page?
Pardon me?
How come I'm not allowed to be on your page, the community page?
I don't have a community page.
You must be part of it, but whoever's running that one won't allow the mayor to be on that.
Oh, okay, well then, that would be something to talk with about, to that person.
Oh, okay.
Just as you would talk with Mr. Swayze and Mr. Floyd. To continue, Councilmember Yates and Mayor Hagan removed themselves from this problematic page and instead used the official, the real official Linden City page to convey accurate and useful and respectful information. Ms. Morris, issue the apology she committed to issuing, both on the official and illegitimate Facebook pages and to council members directly and publicly. Mayor Hagan, collaborate with council members to ensure that the city's Facebook page is providing the necessary information, such as the clarifying statement provided by Councilmember Stuber, to keep the community informed and engaged in constructive communication. Chief Schroeder, commit to direct communication with majority council members and assure his staff that they can speak directly and respectfully to council members anytime they have questions, suggestions, and compliments. Councilmember Stanley modeled appropriate and ethical leadership in this matter. That positive engagement should be acknowledged and emulated. Majority council members continue to proactively provide clarifications in situations such as this one. The official city Facebook page and city newsletter are two critical and accessible public avenues for those ongoing communications. I request that this documentation be included in the minutes and followed up on as recommended. I am happy to contribute to this process. Thank you.
Okay, so the city Facebook page is for announcements, not political agendas or statements by one particular council person, as may have happened before. So they can use their own page or one of those other First Amendment protected pages called the official page, whatever they want to call it, or the community page. That is not for the City of Linden official page. We're making announcements, we're talking about road construction, we're talking about events, we're talking about those things. That's political discourse that you can affect change when the election comes in a couple of months.
So
I'm not
my
doing that.
understanding of how Facebook pages work is that they are used for communication that is determined by the entities, whether that be an individual or an organization or a city, to provide information
If
for
it was a
the
unanimous
community.
vote, and it's never been unanimous on any of those things, 5-2, that's not unanimous, that's not myself, so it's 5-3. You've got the numbers now, but I don't have to put that on Facebook.
Well, that is, the recommendation here is that because part of what happened was that when there's a void in communication, as there is with the lack of communication from the official Linden Facebook page, then it is filled by this illegitimate source. And so the recommendation is that the Linden city, which includes council members and the mayor and attorney and staff, act proactively to correct that. And then one suggestion is to use the Facebook page and the city newsletter and any other avenues. Maybe have others, I don't know, public meetings. These are just initial suggestions to prevent what was a very problematic thing.
I don't think, no one's saying you have to put something. You said, I don't have to do that, and you don't have to do that. We're just saying, I think what I'm understanding you saying is that it would be nice to do that, number one. Number two, we didn't say anything political would be on there. We're saying, like, the playground, you did that. We're talking about, if we do the trail, we want that on there. We want the good things on there. We want some of the reports maybe about what the police have done. Anything but the negativity that's out there right now about Linden. I mean, if you go and look at that page, it's really a bad thing. So,
I want to...
It's right to do that. We're talking about us doing more on our page, Mayor, and I don't understand why you would object to anything like that. We're talking about positive things on our page. And I'm going to tell you, okay, then we'll do it. Then we have access to the Facebook page to do that. Perfect, but I don't understand why you wouldn't want to do it. I mean, I'm not asking you to put anything on you disagree with, but I will tell you just quickly, after that meeting, I walked in the back because there was a whole litany of our police officers here, which was wonderful to see, but they were here because they were nervous and scared. And I talked to one of the women, and she was in tears. And I was like, why are you in tears? I don't understand. We never said, you were always going to get your budget. And, your budget was never in question. So, but they thought it was because of all of this. So all I'm asking is that we put positive things on our page. Yes, Swayze can do anything he wants to do. We cannot stop him.
Well, I think it would be, as a community member, I think it would be a very important role, and either the mayor and or the attorney, to convey to Mr. Swayze and the other gentleman.
It's a First Amendment right of him. He can follow whatever he wants, and I don't disagree. He can do that.
You don't disagree with him having that as the official page?
I don't apply on that page any longer. Haven't said anything.
So I appreciate that. So you are disengaging more from it?
Of course.
Because you see
there's people in this room that do that bidding. I don't have to
do that bidding. I see.
Whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
I'm sorry, that's a wrong word.
I understand.
You have a page that you will not let me on.
Do that bidding. So noted.
Let's wrap that up, okay, because we have gone over our time limit with you. And so you've got 1 minute, and then I'll let you finish up. Please let me finish. You got 1 minute.
Thank you, Mayor Higgins.
That's it.
Thank you. I appreciate what Councilmember Stanley was saying in terms of clarification. And the fact of the matter is that the city of Linden is a political entity. All of you are elected, therefore it is a political entity. So when you refer to political, not making political posts, I'm requesting, and I think Councilmember Stanley is clarifying, we as community members need to know what is going on, clearly. And that includes these kinds of clarifications around legislative matters that you all are determining that affect us. And in this case, as Councilmember Stanley said, it created a lot of unnecessary and problematic ill will and tension for the police in particular, whom we talk all the time about supporting. That was definitely not supporting them. So I would ask that this be entered into the minutes, and I am happy to follow up constructively as is helpful. Thank you very much.
All right.
Open floor is still open. Please, we're not going to have more than 5 minutes on each person, so be cognizant of that. Yes, ma'am, tell us who you are.
Hello, my name is Ann Toles, and I am running for city council, and my comment does have to do with the fault tree analysis she just did. For 40 years of my life, I did fault tree analysis on all kinds of different things. Never has one ever been done by a single person. At a minimum, you have 3 people doing a fault tree analysis. I have chaired fault tree analysis that had as many as 10 people on it that lasted months to complete because of the situation. A single person doing a fault tree analysis is their opinion and their opinion only, because you do not have any other input coming into that. So with that being said, that fault tree analysis to me is not worth anything. If you want to do one, that's fine, but let's get more than one person doing it. Thank you.
Very good. Keep going. Chief Schroeder. Hold down, folks.
Good evening. Since my name was brought up, I'll have to come up here and respond to that. First off, I'm not aware of a single officer that the good doctor spoke with. So to act like all stakeholders were put in is suspect. I'll put it that way. It's suspect.
Just to clarify.
I'm talking.
Ma'am, sit down.
I'm speaking.
Sit down.
Thank you.
Also, there's an issue of bias. The person conducting that has filed a complaint along with Councilman Stuber against Mayor Hagan. There is certainly an issue of bias. Ethically, they should not be involved in conducting an analysis of anything to do with this council or the mayor. Thirdly, I'm tired of hearing the word misinformation. I've heard misinformation. I've heard how there's never been defunding. The officers are very, very, very aware that in August of 2024, there absolutely was a defunding effort against the police officers. That did occur. Don't shake your head. It's in the minutes, and I have the documents, and I can go out to my car and get them. Now, have you done it since then?
What's the point of...
So under...
Excuse me. Excuse me.
Okay, what violation of Robert's Rules of Orders was that? Because to declare a point of order, you have to list the specific rule that was violated.
Well, what is it? You need to hold a meeting
So...
appropriately, and this is not appropriate to speak to council this way.
Well, it wasn't appropriate. It wasn't appropriate for what you just had in attacking the mayor, attacking the city attorney, attacking a citizen over his First Amendment rights. That will get this city sued faster than I'll get at, and you can certainly talk with City Attorney Sigler. Now, if you would like me to go out to my car and get the documents from the defunding conversation, I will be glad to do that and hand them to everybody here, because they happen to be there. Now, we've done a lot of good since then and come a long way, but to call it misinformation is a lie, specifically to you, ma'am, calling Councilman Yates and myself liars. Well, we were told by a citizen who did, so maybe that citizen was wrong in telling us something different, but calling us liars is wrong.
All right, all right.
All right, so I'm angry. I'm done with this.
He was talking about this budget, not that budget. So we were talking about the misinformation that went out about this budget.
But that's why the officers are angry, because they still remember what happened. It's not because of some mythical thing. Yes, there was terrible communication with this council, and there's terrible communication with us. I'll acknowledge my part in all of that. You acknowledge yours in all of that, and we can all do better. I would love to do better with you. I think one-on-one we get along fine, but when we get in this group, crazy things happen. So can we just stop that? That would be great. Let's be professionals. Thank you.
All right. We're not repeating ourselves, but anybody else that has anything they'd like to speak on, please come forward. Yes, sir. Come right up to...
I'm Keith. My name's Dean Samsel. I've been a resident of Linden for over 30 years. Love Linden. My kids I raised all my kids in Linden, and really have a love for the city. Regarding the budget, I did spend some time trying to understand, the line item budget and what we're trying to get accomplished by going with that. And what I found out is some other cities do this. Dayton, Florence, Covington, Georgetown all use detailed budgets. So the question isn't whether line items are good or bad. The real question is how this budget's going to be administered. Across Kentucky, the best practices generally, as we've been doing, we discussed today with our auditor, approving a budget, and mayor and administrative staff manage the day-to-day operations within that approved budget. Council then provides oversight through financial reports, audits, and budget amendments when necessary. The balance provides both transparency and operational efficiency. There's the two key words in this whole thing. For example, if we have multiple snowstorms, major equipment failures, or an emergency repair, will city staff have enough flexibility to act quickly, or will routine budget transfers require additional council approval before work can move on and move forward? Those are important questions because government should be accountable, but it should also be able to operate efficiently. I think you're going to have trouble operating efficiently if you have to look at everything that goes over a small budget. I think the auditor stated that earlier. But transparency and flexibility are not mutually exclusive. So, if you want to have a tight rein on every little penny, you're not going to be efficient. Matter of fact, we're going to be very inefficient doing that. So before making this change, I respectfully ask the council to consider one question. Will this improve services for the citizens of Linden, or will it create additional administrative work without providing a meaningful benefit to taxpayers? I appreciate the time each of you devotes to serving our community, and I encourage the council to carefully consider whether this ordinance strikes the right balance between transparency, accountability, and more importantly, efficient government. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have time for a few more. Ms. Morris?
I'm just going to speak to the line item budget. And as an accountant for 40 years, a line item budget in this scenario will be inflexible. It will limit your financial perspective. You're going to be so busy looking for the penny that you miss the thousands. It'll cause overspending because the funds that are now allocated, in the future, everybody's going to put extra money in all of those. So what have you accomplished? The administrative burden is unthinkable. I've been on both sides of that. You're going to be hiring at least 2 more accountants to take on that responsibility. And there's lack of flexibility. A city is a moving object. This is not a finite place. You can't have a finite number to focus on and then want to approve, pass an ordinance, first reading, second reading, and still work's not being done. Is that what's best for the residents? And regarding my comment of farce, I served on a budget oversight committee. I have the minutes, I have the times in each meeting that the council members agreed to things, and they quickly forgot what they agreed to when they got up here. Now, you've passed a budget that is incorrect because Ms. Benner put funds in the available funds that shouldn't be, but the whole council just approved it with an error. Now, a $500,000 error is a lot more of what I'd be worried about than $5,000 or $10,000.
It is. Yes, it is. Yes, sir. I saw you come in. I'm going to have a gentleman back here.
This will be real quick.
Yeah, you had your hand up. Come on. It's okay. Yes, sir, please.
Hi, my name's Kevin McKinney. I live on Stonewall Way.
Hi, Mr. McKinney.
So my concern is that LG&E is currently going through my neighborhood right now, wanting to get easement deeds signed over from every resident that they can currently get. My concern right now is that there's already a very large adequate easement at the front of all these properties, especially along the street I live on Stonewall Way. They've identified our neighborhood as being targeted for this, and we do need an infrastructure upgrade, and it is expensive for Louisville and for Linden when trees knock out power lines all the time. We definitely want trees in Linden. I know we have a tree initiative here. I'm all for keeping them, and, if we can keep power lines up or in the ground, that's good. But LG&E, when they came out and explained to me what they were doing, they're not going to use the existing easement either at the back of the properties or the front of the properties, which MSD already has, which goes at least 15 feet into pretty much everybody's property on my side of the street, I know. So they want an additional 15 feet into people's yards where they can put residential transformers. Again, I'm not against this at all. I actually fully support it. I just want LG&E to sort of have some pressure put on them to use the existing easement instead of expecting everyone to sign off 30 feet of their front yard to government easement where they can't have plants, they can't have this, that, or the other that might be obstructing whatever they're going to be doing. So they've already said they've got like 50% of the people to sign off on it. One of my other concerns about this is they're not doing anything with the older infrastructure. They're just going to top off the power lines at the back of everyone's property, leave all of the existing lines for internet. I just got fiber wire in my neighborhood, which is great. I want to keep it. But again, they told me that if a tree takes out those power lines or the fiber wire that's on that older infrastructure, that's just up to the internet company whenever they feel to come back out and rehang that stuff. So I don't know if you guys can help coordinate with them to just not request, 20 to 30 feet of people's front yards for this and use existing easements, especially on the back or front of properties. They've got a ton of it. And they say that they're a private company, that they can't use the existing MSD easement. I don't know if you guys can help. If you can, I'd appreciate it.
Well, I don't have everything about it. I know that LG&E is trying to put their lines underground, so
Right.
I'm trying to look up what the right-of-way is for, you said Stonewall Way?
Yeah, it's on
Pretty sure it's a
Stonewall Way.
60-foot right-of-way from center line of street, so
It's
30
30
feet.
from they have 30
30
feet from the center of the road, but we only have pretty much, it's very much 2-lane, and it's residential parking. I think Marty lives in that same neighborhood.
Carla.
That was my timer.
Oh, is that you? You're done. Will you get back with me, and so if you can share the contact you had, I also have another contact that I can find out a little bit more information.
They gave me.
Yeah, I'd like to see it.
I had 9 copies for you guys.
I'll make a copy and bring you the
But
rest.
it's got.
Just so I'm clear about it.
Ask questions,
Yeah.
basically what, and here's the deed, they want me to sign it.
Okay.
I just tell them to sign it.
Okay. Well, let me find out for sure. I can't answer that today intelligently, so we'll get together. Yes, sir, I'm going to have you come up now. Go right ahead.
I'm Tony Dickey, legal name Anthony. Some of the people touched on my question and stuff, but I just want to make it simple. When I was here, maybe the 29th of June, I don't know, the budget was just fine. So my question is, why do we need to change it to a line item budget? What benefit are we going to get from that? Why didn't we just go ahead and approve the one that we'd already decided on? And they kind of wanted to change it and then didn't change it, so why not just leave it alone? I don't understand what the line item budget is going to accomplish. And also, who besides Councilmember Stuber was in favor of changing the one we had a month ago?
I'll speak a little bit. It's actually not changing the budget. We're using the same numbers. It's just adopting the worksheet that was presented to us to get the bigger picture numbers. And so it's being more transparent and also trying to, as you could see what happened earlier in our meeting tonight, there were questions about amending a budget and with spending. And so this would just help us to keep our eyes on the numbers a little bit better and make sure that we are meeting the goals that we're setting within the budget.
I respectfully disagree. It'd be more confusing. in my opinion, and a lot of other people. What do y'all think? Do y'all think we need to line that budget? Anybody?
It's a worksheet, it's attached.
That's all I have, you know, why do we need it? You know, what's it gonna do? Somebody please tell me. That's it.
You're not gonna hear. Thank you. Okay. That's 7:39. Very good. Say who you are, ladies. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Hi, Larry Owens, Autumn Ridge. A couple of things. If I were a manager, I've managed multi-million-dollar budgets. I've managed budgets probably as large as the city budget. And doing it from a line item standpoint actually would not be that difficult. And I think while maybe as a manager I would not like that, but I do think in this case there is enough doubt and miscommunication. I think you should give it a shot. I think you should give it a try. See how it goes for this year and then change it next year. So that would be my thought around that. A second thing, I wanted to ask, the situation that we had on Wood Road, were there any mental health services called in to help with that situation? Is anybody aware of that?
It has been ongoing for quite some time. I don't know that any specifically have been called to that location. I know the code enforcement is working with that property, and then there's a corresponding property in the 5th Division. I'm sorry, I don't know the address of that. But in the 5th Division that we're looking for, where you have one family member living at this one and one former living at this one, and you have somewhere across the both. I can't speak to what resources have been.
Okay. I just want to be sure that while I know it's a very frustrating situation, there is legality to it, this is a human being that I want to be sure that we treat with dignity and respect and provide mental health services if needed. And then the final thing is I'm really excited about the possibility of this nature trail. I don't want Linden to cut a single tree, you know, if possible, for us to develop our brown spaces, our unused spaces, and keep it as green as possible. So I'm extremely excited about that, and I do hope that we can make that happen.
And thank you, Councilwoman Stanley, for all the work that you've done.
Okay, my video is running short on time, but if you, they got several hands up. Who are you pointing at?
Billy, did you
Stand up. Yeah, fine. That's all you gotta do. Come on. Oh.
I'll give, you want us to pass this one. I'll try not to take up a whole lot of your time. I know it's running long. My name is Billy Monk. I don't live in Linden, so this has nothing to do with the budget. Let me say that. Okay. I live in Middletown, actually. I'm a community animal advocate, and that's what this is about. For those of you who don't know, in the audience or the council, in October 2025, Louisville Metro Council passed an ordinance, which is now in law, that all pets must be microchipped, okay? And I want to explain to you why that's a good thing, and then I want to talk to you about my proposal, okay? We have a number of people out here in the community that help owners find lost pets, they rescue pets, they trap pets, they pick deceased pets up off the ground to try to scan them for a chip so they can return them to their owners, okay? Now, I've been told this because I've been working with Anchorage, Middletown, St. Matthews, and Linden, that a lot of people may not see these stray dogs. We have thousands of stray dogs in this city. We have an overpopulation problem that is totally out of control. The community advocates have been wanting microchip mandatory for a long time. I want to explain to you why that's important. Number one, it allows us rescuers that are out there every day, not necessarily me, but others, from sun up to sundown, snow, rain, cold, hot, it doesn't matter. They're out there every day trying to pick up strays and trying to return owned pets to their owners. Because anybody here who has pets knows that the worst thing in the world is for your animal to get out and you not know where it's at, okay? So we've been wanting that for a long time because it helps the people in the community return pets safely and timely to their owners. But more importantly, let me say that I also volunteer for Louisville Metro Animal Services. I am not representing them here tonight at all, but it gives me access to information that a lot of the public doesn't have. Our count right now, the last time I checked it, was about a week ago, was 1,137 animals in our care, one city shelter. That's it, okay? So I want to give you some numbers here. We may start out on a Friday night with 3 empty kennels. Saturday, we may take in 30 dogs. And we have a law that says we have to house them for at least 5 days, it's 5-day stray hold, to give owners time to pick them up. So if we only have 3 kennels and we take 30 dogs in, and if we're lucky, we may adopt 6 out, that means 20 dogs are going to die because we have to have space and we don't have it. And that's not their fault, that's our fault. That's the community's fault. Irresponsible pet owners. What I wanted to do, I wanted to do something a little bit differently than other people are doing right now. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail for time's sake, okay? But somebody created what is called, if you want to write this down, you can. It's called the Louisville, Southern Indiana Microchip Scanner Network. This actually started in Jeffersonville, New Albany, and Clarksville. That thing that I just gave you that has the little blue dots on it, okay, keep that right there in front of you for a second. There was a lady by the name of Jen Bug. Don't ask me why that's her name, I just know that's her name. Her name is Jen Bug. She created this network. And what she did was she built a scanning station with a scanner in a box in her yard. The next thing you know, somebody else did it, and then somebody else did it, then somebody else did it, and all those blue dots are scanning stations. They made their way to Louisville. I actually put the first one up at a place called Dirty Teas at Baxter and Lexington. Now, all those things that you see on there, the majority of those are people's houses. Residents that came, stepped to the plate and said, hey, you know, after 5 o'clock, there's nowhere where you can get a dog scanned unless you go to one of the emergency hospitals. There's only 3. Well, I've just found out there's 4 now, okay? But you don't want to have to go to the South End or to the West End or to Anchorage to get your dog scanned, okay? So I didn't really want to do that. I didn't really want to deal with residents, okay? I wanted to do something different. And the thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to make sure first and foremost that our first responders had scanners. And so Chief Schroeder, that I want to say thank you to, stepped to the plate and was very receiving, okay, of the idea of making sure that the animals here in Linden who got loose were safely returned, or at least safely taken care of until somebody else could deal with it. I provided him with 2 scanners, leashes, a crate, and a muzzle. Now, understand that if a dog needs to be muzzled, they need to call animal control. Unfortunately, I was also I was told that animal control doesn't always respond the way they're supposed to. So I didn't want the police officers to have to ride around with a dog in the back of their car. So now they now have crates. Each substation, Anchorage, Middletown, Linden, St. Matthews now have crates at their substation to house animals if they need to. Thank you. Okay, that part of it is done. The next part is that if we're going to force people to get their dogs microchipped and fine them if they don't, the public needs to be able to have a way to access a scanner. So my proposal was that each one of the small cities put a microchip scanner station in one of their parks. And please somebody help me say it. I know it's not Robinson. Okay, whatever they said. Okay, that is the one that was suggested to me that would be a good idea, to put a microchip scanning station in that park so that the public has access to a scanner. Now, the other picture that I passed around is an example of what the scanners look like. They're not great big monstrosities or anything like that. They're just a box I have everything you need in this box right here. If you have time to see it, if you want to see it after everybody leaves, I'll be glad to show it to you. I know how to put it together. You can get everything you need for less than $100.
Vanna over here.
There it is, right there. And inside that box, there is a scanner, a little scanner. Inside the door of the box is instructions for whoever is doing it, whoever is looking at using the scanner on how to do it, all right? And it is very clear. And so what happens is, they bring this dog in, they scan it, they go to the website that is listed on the instructions, and it tells you where that microchip comes from, which company it comes from. And it allows you to contact them and then give you that information, okay? And then that dog will be able to be returned to the proper owner. It also keeps them from having to take that dog to the shelter where another dog is going to be euthanized.
I think I want to add, if you don't mind, that there's going to be a pretty big PR campaign around scanners and the fact that they have to be microchipped. So I think, because my thing was, how do we even know this is happening? I didn't know, but my understanding is the news is starting to pick this up, and it's going to be a pretty citywide announcement.
It is all the Louisville areas, everybody. Yeah. And the page that I gave you, the Louisville, Southern Indiana Microchip Scanner Network, I know it's long, okay? You can find anything that you want. It gives you details, why to do it, how to do it, what to buy, where to go get it. And in addition to that, Ms. Bug has created a directory. And so, let's just say that you pick up a dog and you don't know where to take it to get it scanned. You go to the directory, you put in your address, and it tells you the closest scanner. Okay, the only thing that I suggest is that wherever we put it, it needs to be someplace close to a parking lot and maybe lit, if possible, because people are going to be driving around with a dog that they're not familiar with, probably doesn't have a leash, so you don't want them to have to walk clear across the park, to get it scanned. The only thing that you're required to do, not you, not me, but whoever you all assign that to, I guess you have a physical manager or maintenance or somebody, would have to charge the scanner once a month. That's it. Okay?
Billy, is it dogs or is cats?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Is it cats too, or is dog is the biggest issue?
No, cats and dogs, all pets. And that includes a pig if you have one.
And the ostrich.
Huh? Well, it's not a, what is it, what I say it was? It's not an ostrich, it's a peacock. Yeah, we have a peacock now at the shelter, but anyway.
So are the biggest problems dogs, or is the biggest problem dogs, or,
or cats?
Or cats.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Okay, as far as strays, okay, you have to understand that, cats are very reclusive, okay? You don't see them running down the road like you do a dog. But as far as numbers and population, way more cats. Because people don't get them spayed and neutered.
Yeah, I volunteer with Alley Cat Advocates.
Oh, do you? Okay, you're on the same campus with the shelter.
Yes.
But no, I would say that cats is probably, and I don't want to take up a whole lot more of your time, but the reason why cats is the bigger problem, because people believe that there's a such thing as outdoor cats. There is no such thing as an outdoor cat, period. And, that's something that we did. That shouldn't be that. Any other questions?
Just what do we need to do if we have the process to say yes at some point to this, if we want to?
You would just put the device up in the park. That's all you do.
That's it.
Yeah,
And the thing is, most parks.
Do we have to vote for it? Vote on it?
No.
Okay, thank you.
unless it goes over the line item of the budget.
It won't. It won't. And if it does, I'll pay for it, okay? If it does, I'll pay for it. Most of the other parks, okay, have already got existing posts in the ground. Like, a lot of them have, poop bags container. They just stick it on that post. Now, if you don't have a post, then you have to get a 2x4 and a bag of concrete. That takes it from $75 to $100.
We've got plenty of that.
How secure is it? Can somebody somebody go in and vandalize it?
Yes, that can happen. Now, I don't expect that to be a problem, and I'll explain to you like I did Ms. Stanley. Yes, people can go in, they can cut the cord, they can steal the scanner. They can't really tear the box up, I don't think, but they can steal the scanner. But people who take the time to pick up a stray dog, bring it all the way to the park, check it for a scanner, are usually not thieves, okay? If it happens, we'll just get another one.
Yeah, and we're working on camera quotes for next month too for security, so hopefully if somebody did something, we might be able to see who did it.
That's something that they would put in the Linden newsletter.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. There's been a lot of talk about Facebook posts tonight. So whenever this is up and running, it would be great if we could put it on your all's Facebook page. Now, the park will be listed in the directory, okay, once it's up and running.
Well,
Karen, can you stay for a minute?
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Do I have any other questions?
thank you, ma'am. So,
I just want to add one thing real quick. Anybody here who has a business, who might be interested in putting a scanning station at your business, please see me, and I will direct you on, how that can be done. Okay?
Or a yard.
Or a yard. I mean, yeah. I mean, every meeting, every council meeting that I've been to so far, people have approached me with business cards saying, I want one of these in my yard. Now, that's probably not something I would do, but if other people want to do it, I'm grateful for them. Any other questions?
thank you very much.
Thank you.
For the Parks Committee. Okay, I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn, or is there somebody else that wanted to speak on something that you brought up? That's okay. Okay, second. All those in favor say aye. Very good. See you next month.
Try to follow everything.